Hi, I'm Jennifer Janisch, owner of Adored Salon and Adored Signature Hand-Tied Hair Extensions. I'm obsessed with curly hair. I cut it, style it, and extend it, and this podcast is all about my curly girl obsessions that stretch far beyond just curly hair. Everyone, thanks for tuning in today to the Curly Girls Obsessions. I'm super excited today. I have a guest speaker with me, and her name is Shawna Enright. She is a salon owner, an extension artist, an extension brand creator, and a lash. You have your own line of lashes too, don't you?
I do.
She is also a lash brand creator. And today we're going to talk about ethically sourced hair extensions and all the misinformation and trying to debunk the myths that are out there and just inform stylists and the consumer more on the practices that go on behind closed doors when it comes to hair extensions. This industry is very different. Probably not what I thought it was too when I entered in to where I am today and everything that I know. We see a lot of things on social media, and we just want to bring to light the good and everything else that goes along with the hair extensions. So here's Shawna. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
So today, her and we have been friends for a while. We've been in this extension. When did we first meet?
I feel like it was at a conference.
Yeah, it
Were
had to
you
be. I mean, I know, like,
in Phoenix for a
yes.
conference? Okay, that was in 2019, I
So
believe.
it was probably right before we launched before my brand launched.
Yeah, I didn't
And
have a brand then either.
yeah, and so yeah, we were at this big conference of a bunch of extension artists, and you won an award at that conference. That's what I remember. Yeah,
Yeah, I pulled
you
up
were
on.
like you were like the artist of the year at
Yeah,
that. Or
and I had no idea like at all. So that was actually one of the coolest like accomplishments of my career. So that was really fun.
what was that award? What was it?
It was the SKW Extensions Artist 2019 Artist of the Year in the country. She,
Picked one.
yeah, I
And
think.
what were your qualifications that got you that? Like you had, do you know?
Honestly, she didn't. When Sarah pulled us up on or me up on stage, like no one knew, and she even said like she doesn't know if she's getting this or what this is. But I think at that time, I just was so focused on extensions that I was like branding and marketing and really putting myself out there, and I I think it just really showed that I was
Mhm.
doing the work and practicing, and I was going to the events, and I was doing all the things. So I think it was more of so just within the community at the time. It was one of those things that just showed, your hard work pays off and people are noticing you. So that was just a fresh of breath air.
I remember at that time too. Like I do remember your social media, and I remember like thinking, gosh, she's so on point with everything. And that's the one thing I think with Shawna. If you guys follow her, Shawna, what is your handle?
It's at Shawna Enright Hair, which I'm sure you could link below in the show
Yeah,
notes.
we're gonna link it when we do the description. But like when you see her stuff, she has totally taken it to the next level all the time, I feel like. So when our friendship started, we started discussing um hair extensions, the branding things, and always looked up to you too within the community because you did always do such amazing work, at the time in your life too. Like that was probably your massive and main focus, right? Like that was the it that was
It
pre-salon and everything.
Yeah. And it didn't come very easy at all. I mean, I was going through a very toxic breakup relationship at the time, or shortly after that. And I remember I went out and did extensions. I think I flew out to California, which you were at that conference too. This is like the days where we had to fly out to California for like 5 days and you had to put thousands of dollars down on deposits and you didn't even know if you're going to get accepted. So like, holy crap, we had to do that.
Right.
I'd be like, no, but you know, we did it. And at the time too, when I went out and did that, there were so many people throwing backlash at me. Like, no one's going to pay that where you live. No one's going to do that. It's Wisconsin. Like, what are you doing? So I had a lot of like imposter syndrome, especially, you know, coming back from these conferences where they're like, you can make $13,000 or $20,000 a month. I wasn't doing that at the time. So it was just like, oh my God, like what? This is going to happen. So I just showed up every single day on my stories. I posted about it. I just talked about it and it just fluently brought people in. So I'm glad that it worked. And it definitely, being consistent and showing up does really work, and putting in the work pays off.
I know we're supposed to talk about hair extensions and we've gone down this tangent of social media, and that tip of consistency, being on social media, speaking like you're the expert, and sometimes where you're even scared to do it, right? Because we were all scared to do it. And sometimes still today, like that imposter syndrome can creep in. But if you're a new stylist, or there's people that listen to this podcast that aren't even stylists, that own businesses and just get motivation from hearing us talk, what would be the one thing that you would tell them about their Instagram or social media that you felt was the biggest impact? Was it showing up on your stories? Or is it today? Is it the perfect photo within your feed, your branding? Like what is it that you think is the most impactful?
I think the one thing that it's not showing up perfect, because everyone has this illusion that like you live this perfect life. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, when I show up without makeup on, or I'm just like,
Right.
you know, I'm a
What
new
is
mom
that?
on a business, and I'm, you know, so when I show up in my stories just like me and I talk about the hardships of everything and, you know, prove my way out of them, or I just talk through my struggles, so many people relate to you, which is how I built my extension clientele, because I don't have, you know, the model type clients that you see on Instagram. Granted, all my clients are amazing. However, I'm not getting, you know, the people that have the 24 inches all the time. It's
Yeah.
more of so like your working moms, or, you know, your like the women in the community that own businesses that, you know, their hair's starting to fall out or they just want to feel like themselves. So I think that relating that extensions to people are for everyone, or can be, has really made an impact. So just get on your story and like be seen.
That I think that that's 100% the truth. Even just the other day, I posted me doing my daughter's hair in my bathroom, and it was so late. It was after work. It was 10 o'clock. She wanted her hair done for her volleyball photos the next day, right? And I know that sounds crazy, like we're doing it the night before, but that's a curly thing, right? And the final photo is her and I, and my hair, like I'm in my cozy, like Nordic beach. My hair is in a bun that's like probably the size of a brain, and stuff is poking out, and she looks as cute as ever. But like that got the most interactions out of everything, you know? So that is the most imperfect, perfect tip.
Yeah. You have to show up, and no one wants this like picture perfect, you know, filtered, like just show up with your face. Like that,
Yeah.
people are like, oh my God, like that's her and that's real. So that would be honestly like my biggest tip, is just get on your story. Everyone's scared. I promise you, 90% of people that are watching are more worried about things that they have going on in their life than like dealing with the one zit that's on your forehead at the time. Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get to ethically sourced hair extensions. So what is awesome about mine and Shawna's relationship to me is that we both believe the best hair comes from India. We both know that the most ethically sourced hair comes from India. Both of us have hair extension brands that are India sourced hair extensions. That doesn't even make us, I don't even feel like we're competitors. We're two totally different markets. And even if we were competitors, the best part is that our relationship, even though it's more social interaction through social media, I always feel like whenever you and I talk, it's an hour and we're like, oh my gosh, I got to get off the phone. I got to get on with my day, right? We have so much to talk about. So this is the one thing that really draws us into each other is the fact that we both tried hair from China in the
Yep.
beginning, right? And let's state that statistic. It's like 97% of the world's hair extensions are manufactured in China, but India is the world's largest producer of hair for hair extensions because of a religious I hate when I keep saying the word
I know. It's
but
because they're the high percentage of them in India are Hindu. So if people don't understand what that means, is that they actually have to sacrifice their hair as a cleansing ritual, which they ethically choose to do so. And they actually get compensated for doing that, but it's for a religious belief. So they grow their hair back out and then they can go through there. I believe, and don't quote me on this 100%, but there's multiple times throughout their life that they have to do that. So there's stages of it.
it's like a rite of passage. Children do it, and then there's like a rite of passage into adulthood, and it's female and male. It's not just limited to female. And then it's also done when a family is experiencing something with the family, like they'll do it for better health, prosperity, a new business, starting a new venture. Like it is believed like that the shedding of the old and the new beginning is the way to go. And I know that sounds kind of corny how I just said that, but
Kind of like when you get divorced and you say, I want my hair cut because you're
right?
someone new.
They just new hair, new hair, new life. Like nothing's like a woman with a new hairstyle. Was it Coco Chanel who said that? Like there's this, you could find the photo, right? And it's awesome. But so the other part to know too is along with this, because of the population in India and how important this is within the Hindu community, the temples employ 10 to 12,000 barbers a day to service these people that are coming in pilgrimaging to the temples in order to do so. So because it is so big and it's such a high volume, India, the production of this hair is a really large source of income for that country. So it's really put up on a pedestal. It's really looked at as an important thing. And because these barbers, this is their job and this is what they do, they collect the hair. Not only is it ethically sourced, but the manner in which it's done, they know exactly what end is coming out of the scalp and what is the ends. The hair is collected in ponytails from each person. But what I will say, like, I'm sure this is where we can start with some kind of controversy. What is it that is on a lot of packages? I'm going to say one head sourced. What's the word I'm looking for that I'm at a loss for? Like
Single donor.
single donor.
Yeah.
And so that's just, I can debunk that myth, right? And say that's impossible, kind of.
Yeah, it's this is where I think the background of hair extensions is very hard to figure out all of the truth behind it. But I like I do believe strongly from the research that I have done that their odds of, a pack of hair coming from India being from one donor is possible. But do I think that obviously if you can split packs up and put different packs of hair in people's heads,
Together.
it's
Yeah.
not, yeah, it's not going to be from one person. So it's take that kind of with a grain of salt is what I say. But I feel like the difference between like India doing that compared to China, like there is a night and day difference with that. So it's hard to I agree with you. I don't believe that there's one donor on a pack of hair.
Yeah. I think it's physically impossible by the time everything happens, right? Like we're talking micro strands of hair. But I mean, even with that being said, like I do know when the hair is donated and then when the supplier gets that ponytail of hair, and I see it, like my supplier sends me exactly what is picked up at the temples when they go. And it's like, it's a couple days because it's not even like it's close to where they live, right? So they go, they get it. I get the photos of, I mean, I see them at the temples. I get the photos of this hair all together. And then when it's colored, right? So all of that hair starts out black or gray, typically. It is sewn onto material so that it is maintained what is coming from the scalp, what is the ends, right? So it's not getting mixed up. So this hair is lightened all on this material. It's sewn down from the top and then it's lightened in a process and then it's colored. And because of that, it goes through less stages. It doesn't have to have the cuticle removed. And it doesn't have to have, there's so many less processes done in India because collection is from start to finish. It's very cared about. It's a main source of income for that country. And when it is done that way, there's so many questions going on about now the state of hair extensions since COVID and everything that is, why is there not, why are they having a struggle with this? Are they getting this A, B, or C hair, right? Or is it the fact that COVID, people who had COVID, is their hair just not as healthy as it once was? All these different things that happen within the hair extension manufacturing world, people are questioning what is the quality of the hair that they're getting. Well, and even somewhere I heard like people questioning, well, maybe the chemicals within the manufacturing process are on back order, right? Okay, so what possibly could be the chemicals within the manufacturing process when we're discussing hair? We know in India that hair is starting out black or gray and needs to get to lighter, right? Or darker, like your hair, not darker, but it's lighter than black. So it's going to be lightened with a lightener, and then it's going to be colored. But because the cuticle is still intact, because they don't need to remove it, because they're not dealing with not knowing what is end or from the scalp, the hair is in such better condition. So it's not going through that chemical process first. Am I even making sense? Because I'm talking fast. Like
No, it is a lot to break down. One thing I will say, like with my manufacturing company that I use, and this is why I went this route, was we actually we don't use bleach to lift open the cuticle with my hair. We actually work with a trichologist, and
Mhm.
in these labs, they actually use electricity to naturally raise like the
Like,
cuticle.
mhm.
Yeah, so then we can put the dye molecules in, and then Our process is a 3-day cold bath where they slowly take down the temperatures so that the cuticle can actually close like shingles on a roof. So that all makes sense with what you're saying, but we don't use a lot of like the chemicals, whereas hair coming from China, they don't have regulations on any of this hair in general. So they could put out there and say like, we're an organic company, but there's nothing that holds them to like them being ethical by telling you that, because
Right.
they say it doesn't mean it's true. So the thing with that is they're pushing hair out so fast, and they don't have an agriculture law. Like in India, the hair is actually protected under an agriculture law too. So that's the one thing, like we have to go through so many processes in order to even make sure the hair is good enough to leave the country. So we're not giving out floor scrap hair at all to people, because it will not pass through the phases that they have to go through in customs. And I believe it's 2 or 3 different phases that the hair has to go through in India. So you can't get hair. Granted, sometimes things happen, but our hair is always inspected for parasites, lice, bacteria. We also there's a law in the agriculture law that protects the hair with the humidity levels, because humidity also affects extensions in hair. So all of this stuff is protected under the agriculture law, where we have certain standards. So we can't
Mhm.
use these chemicals and things that places in China can do, which I think is the number one reason you and I both go towards Indian hair, is because there's so many different, processes that make sure that it's the best quality that we can put out.
Right. So in India, there's processes and rules in place so that the best hair only leaves the country with their name, right? Like they're instilling that their whole scenario is going to be perfect. With China, it's different in the fact that when they're lightening hair, they're just lightening it. They literally are lightening it just to produce a massive amount of products, and they're not worried about the end all be all, right? The end
Right.
result. India has a name to preserve, whereas with China, I feel like it's just so mass produced, and it's kind of as if, I mean, at the end of the day, India is not a communist country and China is a communist country. That's the
Right.
thing. It's like what you're dealing with is someone who really cares about their branding and their name. And then you're dealing with another country that is just a manufacturer of product, fast, efficient, and that's what they're known for, right? So
Yeah.
when it comes to that scrap hair, can you speak more to that scrap hair? Because we all know that there is this post that's gone around in the hair extension community discussing A, B, and C hair. We're discussing that scrap hair, right? Or we're also discussing in the ability of other companies too, like the more money that's spent, you're promised like a different level of hair to say, but it's also the fact of like what's being manufactured out of that country.
Yeah, so I do a lot of research, and I work very closely with the manufacturing side of hair extensions. So when you're hearing A, B, and C hair, what does that mean to us as hairstylists? Honestly, nothing. It's a manufacturing code for the grade of hair, right? So like when you say different grades of hair, for us, like my brand is like a 12A grade. What would that mean to you? It doesn't matter. It's more of so like a very on the higher end, but not on the high scale of hair extensions. It's a really good hair, like it's for everyone to be able to afford. I think more of so like the 14A grade is like your luxury silk hair. it gets taken care of a little bit more. But for a lot of people that we like sell to, or our clients, the 12A-ish grade is going to be perfect for them because it's affordable. And that's the number one thing, is hair is so expensive. There's so many tangents that you can go on, especially with scrap hair, floor hair. In China, people actually get paid to take hair out of their brush because they get paid by, we say gram, I think there it's kilogram. So they get paid by the weight of hair. So they could literally take hair out of a brush or hair that fell onto the floor, and they take that in and they make money off of that. And that's exactly what they're getting paid for. And China will put that together and make a weft of hair. So if you see too, like 20, 30, 40% percentage rate on these hair companies that they now I can't talk.
It's like
What means is that 20% of the hair that's on like an actual weft, 20% of that is only going to be guaranteed as 18 inches, because the rest of it is shorter, because it's the percentage of scrap hair that is in the weft. So that's something you really have to watch out for, because you're going to end up ordering more hair in bulk if it has scrap or floor hair on it, because you will not get the full length of hair that's on a weft. So you're ordering more from these companies. But I think what we're seeing too that's spread around is people will invest in samples of these companies that come from like Instagram or WhatsApp, right? They send them through, they're like, we're the number one hair supplier, buy our hair, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So people reach out to them and they're like, oh my God, I bought a sample so cheap. This is amazing. They get the sample in. The sample is going to be an A grade hair. Very, very nice. What they do is they go and invest anywhere from $500 to $30,000, thinking that they can start up their own hairline. And when they do that, the manufacturers are sending out this B or C grade hair. So what you're putting into your client's hair is actually not the hair that you got in the sample. Or they start to do it in phases. So they'll wait a couple times for you to order, and then you're hooked more. So they can do that in China because they don't have any laws that actually look at the hair when it comes out from customs.
right. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. And also, let's be real, when you're dealing with the mass producer in China, right? My supplier is smaller. And so there's not hair just laying around to be used for this purpose. There's a lot of hair on the floor in this factory because they're producing so much, right? And I got to feel like a lot of these factories are intertwined because of the fact of the way that China operates just in general, right? And so there is that grade of hair laying there being able to be sent off like that because, it just, now being in the business for as long as I have had a brand, it has started 5 years ago when I started with my first supplier. And I did go through a lot of ups and downs. I was with it through COVID too, right? And I feel like that was where a lot of the problems happened because there wasn't the main person who was doing the supplying wasn't in the factory because that person was part of a family that was really wealthy, and they during COVID were like put in a they just didn't intermingle because of India society. And so the things that went down during that time were pretty horrendous. And but there again too, it was that whole scenario of, and when you're looking back on it and you're seeing everything that I did go through at that time, it's hard not to think too about the hair that was coming through the whole system of people who were getting COVID, what their hair was starved of, what the hair looked like, and what my demands were, right, with this texture and what that supplier could and couldn't supply at the time. It just, there's been so many scenarios that I could speak to as a brand owner for this long with hair extensions, and you discussing like, okay, so yeah, this sounds great. Like, and it always surprises me because it we as hairstylists, when we all got involved with hair extensions, we started because we were like, okay, I'm bored with this world over here of just doing um highlights, haircuts, root touch-ups. I need to do something more. I want to elevate my career. I want to do something that's going to produce these weeks of great sales. But then on the skimp side, in the highest producing ticket item, looking for the least expensive way to make that happen, right? And taking that risk of that cheaper hair and not having the know-how of going through the process of owning the brand and being like, okay, this is the quality control that we're going to go through every time an order comes through. There's going to be this level of margin for color, because color is never going to be 100% on point. Just like we know in life, no two heads of hair are the same. You've got a lot of different textures and everything going on. So the way that the dye lot took this week versus the following week could be totally different dependent on the hair, the humidity levels. Like India has a super rainy season where the levels of humidity are super high. And so like when you order your product at that time, it takes so much longer to get because the drying factor is unbelievable. Who would know this? And honestly, over owning the brand, and when I moved from my first supplier to another supplier, that was like a year-long process. And did I get samples from a lot of different companies? I did. And honestly, it took a good 9 months to perfect the product from the one. But can I tell you how many samples that I got that actually had mold growing on them? Because of the rainy season. And so the other topic in question that Shawna and I will get a lot in random DMs is, how did you start your hairline? How can I start my own line of hair? And when we go down this road, like, that's something that is just one of those things, like, it's a lot of work. Why would I ever have thought that I would get hair extensions with freaking mold on them? Right? Like, because you don't know the seasons of the other country that you're going through and all the things that go on. Now, that was not from my current supplier. That was samples that I got from everybody else. And that's just one thing. That's just one aspect. And you talk about too, the whole scenario with the bacteria, the looking for lice, looking for, these are things that reside within hair that are unthought about, right? And like when people ask me that, I'm always like, okay, it took me a lot of work to get here, a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, waking up at 3 a.m. and talking to India, a lot of there was a lot of ups and downs in the beginning, and there still remains a lot of ups and downs today. And it's not a business to enter into lightly. And $10,000 and $20,000 is not enough money to start that business either. What would you like to give your perspective on that one too?
I think that, I get a lot of messages like, hey, I know you have a hairline. I was wondering if, you've been someone that I've reached out to before with things and you've always been super helpful. So I was wondering if you could help me with this. The number one reason that stylists come to me saying that they want to start their own hairline is not the fact that they want to own a hairline. It's the fact that they don't want to work behind the chair as much. And let me tell you, that is not the putting hair in Like, and selling hair is not going to make you the money that you think you're going to make unless you are shopping from China. And I can say that because I did it in the beginning, and I don't have a hairline to make a lot of money. I have a hairline to protect myself and my clients from different chemicals and different inconsistencies in hair because I've experienced it and I was fed up with it. So I don't think that if you truly want to have your own hairline, this is not like the next step for you to do. And I'm not saying that because I don't want people to own a hairline. I don't even market my hair as much as I should or could. Um, I just truly do it because, like I said, I want to protect my clients and myself from just the negatives of the industry. So it has nothing to do with competition to me at all. Like, I have used other hair. I still sometimes use other
Yeah.
hair for certain colors that is just easier. Like, of course I will go support someone, but the only way I'm going to support someone, especially now moving forward with how this has gotten so out of control, is the reason that they have ethics behind their business and their hair, and they can talk to me about that, because a lot of people do not know a thing about hair extensions and they're just very good at marketing. And that's unfortunate because I think that a lot of stylists need to understand that business part of extensions, or like down the road there honestly are going to be a lot of lawsuits, and it's unfortunate that it has to come to that. But why would you want to put hair from China with formaldehyde and different chemicals that are can make yourself very, very sick in your client's head? It's just going to take one lawsuit that traces back to a stylist that was not informed. And that to me is just so scary. And it just needs to be talked about more. But unfortunately, it won't be because a lot of different lines, and not pointing at different brands in particular at all. It's just a lot of different brands. China does a very, very, very good job at, like they have people targeting all day long on Instagram. Like, that's how many hair suppliers do you have, or hair suppliers, but really they're brokers because they
Yeah.
will not be able to talk to you about anything to do with the hair. And that is the number one red flag too. Like, a lot of people will say, well, how do I know where this company has their hair from? Ask them. Ask them. If they will not give you any information about this, that is a red flag. No, people are not going to go out and give you their manufacturer's name. That is not them being, like keeping a secret. It's not. It's because when we have a good thing going, we're not going to give that out because we need hair for ourselves. Like you just said, India only produces so much. There's about 9,000 certified factories out there, and only 8 of them are in India.
Isn't that insane?
It is because they take pride and quality in their hair, so they're not going to overproduce, mass produce. I think the other thing is you'll see this, like, oh, this is Australian hair, like this is Australian hair, or oh, like this is Spanish hair, or this is Slavic hair, or anything like that out there. We can't do business with Russia. Like, there is no hair that, if you see Russian hair, yeah, maybe China's getting hair donated from Russia, but we cannot, in the United States, we cannot do business with Russia. It's part of our politics. So that is one of these things people are just throwing, like, oh, this is cool, I want to try that because it's different from the rest. It's not different from the rest. It's really honestly coming from the same place, because people that are Polish aren't shaving their heads. When you see people from Poland shaving their heads, they're not.
Well, this is something that just drives me bonkers, right? When was the last time? Okay, so my clientele in Chicago, it's pretty diverse, right? We're the melting pot here. We see all kinds of ethnicities, especially in our salon catering to curly hair, right? What's the one thing that I could tell you that we don't see a lot of is Polish hair or like Slavic hair to say, because their hair is super fine, straight, and there's not a lot of hair on their heads typically. And it's like, so how many people with that kind of hair type, this super baby fine hair type, are really like, how many heads would it take to get a head of hair, right? Like, I'm looking at your hair right now, it's super thick. The reality here that is really interesting, Shawna, is that in India, in all different parts of India, there resides all different textures of hair.
Mhm.
Silky straight, all the way to Z type kink, right? And just very, very tight curl. Like it runs the whole spectrum. And a lot of the time when it's Slavic, labeled as Slavic hair, because it is super fine, it is definitely not the diameter of hair from an Asian culture, right? It is from India, purchased bulk hair to create that Slavic hair title in China. That is a known, like, I mean, has your supplier discussed that with, like, it, I feel
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
kind of
Oh,
like a known thing in India. Like, they're like, oh yeah,
not,
Slavic hair is our
it's not
fine.
it's not a secret. Like, it's not that. I think the thing is like a lot of marketing goes behind this, and it's very confusing because you're like, oh my God, there's hair extensions in Australia. No, there's people are not donating their hair in Australia.
Right.
People from Australia, suppliers get hair from China or India, and then they ship it from Australia. So a lot of suppliers might be in Australia, but if you have purchased from different brands in general, like that go to Australia, or they're like, oh, I'm talking to my supplier in Australia, they're talking to their supplier in China or in India. So really what this comes around to is there really is only a few places that are going to source hair. It's that simple. It's not, it's just there's so many places to get it from that a lot of these are just kind of, they're honestly just scary. I know the sun keeps coming in.
The glare, like, I'm like, they can't see me when you're talking, so I keep moving my, I'm so sorry, like, what a
Oh my
disturb
God.
that has to,
Um,
I'm like, what?
no, yeah, no, it's just it's unfortunate, I feel like, because I feel like for brands like you and I, like we're just small, like small town hairstylists, right? But
Yep.
I think my biggest goal and mission for having my hair extensions is the fact that I want to be ethically known that like this hair is legit. I think the other thing that I know we've talked about is like people downgrading you. Like you don't own your hair company though, or something like that. What company owns a hair, like what person owns a hair company? We're creators of our brand. We help people get better hair because we have, the funds, or we put in the work to create that. But unless we own people that are going to donate hair, that's not a thing. But that's how every single brand is out there. Yes, you can create different colors. If I have someone that wants, fuchsia 24-inch hair, I can get that made. I can, because we work with manufacturing companies that can do that. Brokers will not be able to do that. If you ask for something to be done, a broker will not allow you to change from what they have. Yes, they can make, your plastic packages and your logo and all
Mhm.
that can be done from China very, very easily for very cheap. But if one thing with like a broker or like a manufacturing company is the fact that a manufacturing company can do can do anything that they want with that. So a broker cannot. And that I think is one of the things, if you asked certain companies that you use, if they can produce if they can produce
Sorry.
different, no, it's fine. If they can produce different colors or different textures or different lengths for you, then you know it's probably a little bit more legit because they have the option to do that. Whereas somewhere like in China, these working camps that these, people are working from, they can't customize as much as like you or I could.
I think too that it is crazy how filled your DM box is, be it in WhatsApp or in Instagram, from these companies that are in China. Like, uh, for every 30 from China, there might be one from India. Might, right?
Yep.
It's very, so it is hard, I think, as a stylist. Like, you're super excited about this career path you're taking. You're trying to maximize your time behind the chair. This sounds like a great idea. And then you get into it and you start opening the boxes that come. And because you're just, you know, you're not invested into it because of the fact that you wanted, when I did it, it was for personal need, like my hair, like looking for a match for my hair and having so many clients that had texture in their hair and they're like, this is not working. Like I'm not blowing out my hair to only have straight hair extensions. So invested in it from the fact of like that was what I wanted to find, a finer, softer texture. There's it's not just like jumping into learning how to do a balayage, creating a brand of hair extensions. It's so much more. It can look really pretty and fun from the outside, but the nitty-gritty is it's a business that has to be run like a well-oiled machine. You have to know what to look for. And the other thing I think that's very important too is that once you start ordering, the orders are expected to be, there, it's not like you're just ordering $10,000 here and $5,000 there. Like, it's expected that you're placing orders that are very substantial and sometimes doesn't always work in your favor for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's definitely minimums that you have to hit in order to do that too. So, like you
To make it
said, I think
lucrative for
that people think, oh, I'll just place an order once every 2 months. Like you can't do that. There is like we have monthly minimums that we have to hit. I don't know how yours is, but every company is different in that stance for sure.
and I think too, it's like I remember in the beginning getting those samples really in the start of this journey. And I did that. It was 300 for the samples, then it was 1350, then it was 2500, and then it was $3,500 worth of hair that like I went and ordered, right? Like it was like week, and then the supplier said to me, "Look, I'm not the grocery store. You just can't buy a can of pop from me. You have to buy the whole display." And I was like, "What?" Because it was like me looking for this amazing Indian hair for myself and for my clients. And then that was when I came to that crossroad of like, okay, now I either gotta make it a business or figure out something else, right? And that was a shock for me, but I'm glad that it happened that way because it pushed me into the right direction of what I wanted to accomplish, right? I wouldn't be here today. Um, and also like I feel like something too that we should talk about is like the control that's going on in this industry right now amongst other brands and stylists. And I feel like as a stylist when we got into this industry we did it to be creative. we did it to be, every stylist is their own boss behind the chair, be it in a commission salon, a rental space, like you are building your business behind the chair within another business, no matter where that sits, right? Because the the holder of the space is the other business. And so we did that to have creative control, do creative things. And now there's a lot of brands that are offering exclusivity. And um that's as a small brand, I feel like my brand is kind of like a baby brand, because I am not corporate. It is owned by me. I say I'm not corporate, but it's a business, but like I think of like a big conglomerate, right? And and there's these things that are going on. I feel like Britt Siva discussed this in her podcast, like the weirdness that goes on in the extension world and this control. And it's almost like the biggest MLM company, multi-level marketing company with brands, right? Where there is a lot of exclusivity, and they're like, okay, you just have to say us, and then that's it. Like, we'll give you free stuff along the way. It just bothers me so much. Like, I just feel like our Instagram profiles should be allowed to be whatever we want them to be.
I think a lot of it, I try, even listening to Britt's podcast, like, I'm glad she addressed it because that's what brought us to talk about this. But I think on the other hand of it, when I was listening to it, it seems like us who have small brands are like these bad people that, like there's so much negativity towards it. And I really disagree with that. I think that you and I are both very educated and we spend a lot of time. Like, I'm a total nerd. On the weekend, how many times have I talked to you on like a Saturday and I'm out at the store or something and I'm sitting on the phone with you for like an hour in my car without going in talking about hair extensions?
I know, right? We're
Literally,
hair extension geeks.
not a lot of people, I guarantee, because that is the number one thing to me that, like, it's frustrating when I hear about, like, oh, if you have a hair extension brand, like you're toxic or this or that, or people are against you, because I've had a lot of backlash too, where I think people don't want to support me because I am and I show up vulnerable on social media. And I think sometimes people, or what I've been told, I should say, which I'm not that person, like I will help whoever out if I can. That's my
Mhm.
goal. That's how I believe. I believe in like good karma, bad karma. That's how I want to be left on this earth, is like, she helped me do X, Y, and Z, or put faith into me. So when you and I have talked too, it's like, okay, we're shooting like ideas back and forth, but it's not like you're stealing someone's ideas and running with it.
Mhm.
Um, but with these brands, I think it's frustrating because we don't have as much influence as other people to, have the money or the funds to do the things that is going on. But I just think it's unfortunate because I think a lot of it's going to come back around because a lot of it's, in my belief, scarcity.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't disagree with some things that brands are doing because I understand business and that's great. But at the end of the day, that's not what I'm here for. And if other people, out there want to do that, that is totally fine. But like, I don't trap people that buy my hair into my brand. I have very, very, very loyal customers. And I think the reason is because I'm very honest with them and they know what to expect. And I don't have a mass quantity of customers either that are just always like out there searching for more. I take care of the people that I have.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my goal and vision behind my hair brand. And I just want people to know the truth. And I want people to have the resources to be able to support their business and, have success, because no one is going to want to go out there and buy hair from a company that did that from China in bulk. And then they have to redo installs because their hair is all yucky. Like, Who has time for that? No one. So to me, I took the research and I'm trying to make people not have to go through that. That's my goal.
Hmm. I agree. It, I, I think that 100% business is business, right? And if if that's the way then it operates, it's like forever I feel that both of us within those conversations, knowing you, trying to educate the consumer. So like in our hairline, educating the consumer is everything because it's so different. It's night and day, right? When it comes to curly hair, like people probably look at my hair and they're like, "Oh my God, her hair must be so tangly. Like, how does she even walk outside with this?" Right? Like, but my hair is styled and set in a curly style, just like a straight hair would be set in the fact of a blowout and a hot tool set, right? Because if it's not set, then yes, it becomes very disastrous. And so we caught a lot of backlash last year because it was hard to deal with a lot of customer service in the fact of the lack of knowledge, right? In the world of texture and curly hair. And I started making it mandatory that stylists had to purchase Karen styling videos before they purchased. And first, it was a $600 option with all the products that they needed. So, like a video library of 17 videos plus all the products and tools to be successful to with that knowledge from the videos. And we were refunding orders $3,000, $4,000, 2,500. And it was like the stylist refute, no, I know curly hair. No, I'm not gonna do it. And then um and it sunk me to the core because I was like, this is imperative knowledge, right? I know because I know from market research and customer service calls and the customers messaging me themselves, like, what do I do with this hair now that it's in my head? I want it to look like yours, but I have no idea how to get it there. And that is truly too where things for me, like it was a big aha moment in the world of the hair extensions. Like I can provide the hair, I could take the hit, I could take the responsibility of fronting all the money for this product. And I can give you the tools to be super successful with it. But when you tell me that no, you don't want it, it's hard for me. Then I had to make that really harsh decision of like, okay, then I can't sell this hair to you because I can't be responsible for what will not happen on the other side of it. And personally, like it, it, that's where that imposter syndrome comes in. That's where everything that you're like, I believe so much in this and I want to do the best possible for this community. If it's not the hours of the phone conversations between the two of us or the research behind it and why this product is the best that's going to get in your hands and in your hair. It's then also the research for the care and the maintenance so that this hair that ours is probably more of a luxury hair extension, even though we say it is affordable, it is more costly coming from India, from those few places, because it's not a dime a dozen. It's
Yeah,
not churn and burn.
it's it's just hard. I feel like those things like it's hard, and there's some days too where it's like, well, shit, like I don't want to do this. I have a baby at home. I have a salon. I work 40 plus hours behind the chair. Like this is a lot for me to do all of this at once, but like I chose this and like this is what I know is best for people to know, which is why we're talking because The information, in my opinion, if you are going to call yourself an extension specialist, you need to do the work to understand hair.
Yeah,
It's your responsibility. And if you're not doing that, don't call yourself an extension specialist, because there's way more that comes from just the method. Like the hair and like the process of the hair is so important, which I'm actually going to be doing an like small education series on stuff, because people always message me, well, where can I figure this stuff out? Because there's so much misleading information. So that's taking up a lot of my time too right now. But like you and I agree, we need to start educating more people on this, because it's our job.
100%. It is. And I mean, if you are listening to this, I think it's pretty obvious how passionate the two of us are. We're spending our Saturday night Googling or, talking. That's the other thing. Like when you talk with your supplier in India, you're talking either like at 10 p.m. or 5 a.m. our time with their time zone. And it's you and I that are actually talking to them.
Yeah.
Like we're talking to the source of it. It's not just being bulk in there. I'm losing my words. Like I'm at that point where I need some coffee, Shawna. to keep, but it is like I'm losing the thought of that, is because we care so much about it. There isn't the middle person in between us and them. And we are making sure that the product that we are producing is the top of the line.
Yeah.
100%.
It's really nuts. I know. There's a
I'm
lot. There's
excited to hear your education series.
Yeah, I'm actually getting some of it recorded this weekend, so it it might take a little bit of time, but it's just going through kind of what we're talking about, honestly.
Yeah, there's got to be so much more to where this is surface in under an hour discussing this stuff. And I feel too, like sometimes in my brain, picking back to, you know, just you are really immersed in the details. And I'm sure right now too, with doing this education series, it's like all your eat, sleeping, and drinking right now is the factual data of the extensions as well. And a lot of the time my brain just 100% goes to the texture and everything that I deal with on the texture side, that it's those fine details and things that and discuss, right? That sometimes I lose in translation because I'm like, okay, texture matching is just as important as color matching. And if you're going to be dealing with curly hair, there's X, Y, and Z that go along with it, right? And touching on the methods too, the methods of install. I saw this awesome post by Just a Hairdresser. It was in Threads. And she said, it's not that you need another extension class, it's that you need a business,
The methods are great for about like a surface level. You have to know how to put hair in people's heads, but I always get that too, like, oh my god, should I invest in this class? Like I feel like it's what I'm needing. The methods aren't, they're not going to give you what you're needing extension wise to dive deep into, you know this type of a thing. And it's just make sure, I guess my only advice is like, just make sure that your resources of where you are learning to invest in is reputable. Like I said before, if people can't tell you certain things, don't believe it. Like it's unfortunate that that's just how this has to go, but it's just the truth. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people will represent a brand or be an ambassador for a brand and they know nothing about the hair. They're just like, hey, you have a lot of followers, you can make money, posting about this, or I'll give you new hair or good hair, but they don't know anything about that. And I just think that's so unfortunate, because for me, like, if I'm going to immerse myself into something, I need to believe in it inside and out, or I won't even talk about it or do it. So that's where I guess like a lot of my stuff kind of like comes alive. And I talk to my clients about this all the time because I talk to them about hair and they're just like, oh my God, I wouldn't want that in my head. It's like, exactly. So I'm showing you I have more value as a hairstylist by doing the good things for you. And this is where your money is going to be the most valuable because we're not just like tossing stuff in your head just to take a paycheck.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what happens.
And that's that, ladies and gents.
That's exactly what happens. It, and just to take the paycheck, even going back to what I said about the texture and like what we said, you had to watch these videos just to get the bare minimum, right? Whereas a curly install too is upwards usually of $3,500 between the hair, the time, the coloring, the install. It's a big, big ticket item. And I've had clients come back to my salon or come to my salon where other stylists were like, here's all the money back that I charged you. I don't understand this. You could go to Lombard. Like they're to
Right.
understand that. And it's just investing in the right spots to your point in that. Like if you know how to stitch and stitch, you can stitch best by practice, 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 and money or money, like we're talking money, muscle muscle memory to gain a better understanding of how
Right.
to do it. You don't have to, it literally is. I feel like that's the biggest thing with installing extensions is just the practice. When it comes to the hair, it's really researching it and diving deep. And, you know, Shawna and I have a lot of answers to probably a lot of your questions. You can send us a DM.
Cool.
It's this is surface. I think it would be awesome for you to come back on and talk after you do your education. Where's your education series going to land? Is it going to be on your own personal website? Are you doing it with someone?
No, I'm doing it alone. And I'm not, it's not like one of those things where it's going to be like this staged, you know, thing. I just honestly, I feel like if I don't put stuff out, I'm going to hold myself back and I'm going to hold other people back. And like that's my biggest thing this year is I want people to feel the most educated and empowered. I think knowledge is power. So I kind of feel selfish keeping a lot of the information to myself, but like even the girls at the salon here, like they know a lot just from me talking about it. But I sometimes don't think like even they realize like how much information they have
Mhm.
because if you go somewhere else no one's talking about things like that. And I think that's what does separate us as stylists and hold value. And I want other people to know that they feel more confident in charging these prices with their clients because they are so educated. Like no one can take that away from you. I believe this type of series, I don't even know what's all going to unfold on it yet because there is just so much to talk about, but a lot of it is very scary because it's like, am I going to get backlash? Are people going to, you know, accuse me of what I say? So a lot of it is just kind of like speaking from what I know and I want to share it. So we'll see. We'll see what
You know,
comes.
it doesn't matter the backlash. The truth is the truth. Honestly, that's that. Like to be afraid of covering up the truth is a disservice to everybody else. And right, it might be hard on the front end, but what you're putting out there is the absolute truth. That's it. Like, and it's empowering in the sense of extension artists, it's empowering in the sense of being your friend. Like honestly, I really can't wait because just like you said, I am a geek for all the information and you are so detail orientated. I don't know, I really honestly can say I don't know anybody else, and I'm even including myself in there, that does have that kind of knowledge that you do about it, because I think we've both been burned in a lot of respects along the way that pushes you to search out the truth and the knowledge to justify that what you're doing is the right thing, one foot in front of the other every day, because you are making a massive impact and you are bringing to light what is the best products. Because Jessica, who wears, all organic clothing lines and only feeds her children organic food and only does does yoga 5 times a week and looks amazing and has this amazing hair, and then finds out that the hair that's in her head contains so much formaldehyde that it's causing these migraines that she never even knew the source.
Yep.
And the doctors will never even figure out the source, because who would ever think that the formaldehyde.
No, I could go on and on about this because it's
Yep.
like even politically speaking, like the United States has seized so many shiploads of hair that they didn't even allow into the United States because of the misled information, and the chemical load was way too high that they seized it. And you can look this up. I even have photos. They seized these ships and they do not allow it here because it doesn't even pass US standards, which is very, very crazy to say,
Well,
because
the US standards are so low when it comes to that stuff. That's the part that
like it's just like enough's enough, and people aren't going to want to keep, you know, feeding that because it's just not the type of beast you want to feed. But it also is very dark market and dark industry. So you kind of have to protect yourself along that end too. But the truth, like you said, will speak itself, and eventually we'll just be sitting here.
Yeah.
Waiting.
Well, we look forward to that. I look forward to it. And yes, we are going to have you come back on after you're done with it, because I want you back on after you're done, because I'll just sit here and sit back and let you talk, and I'll be so excited, or I'll have a million questions and we'll talk for 2 hours and it'll be 2 episodes. So Shawna,
we need to wine next time.
yeah, right. Cheese and crackers, wine, like, sounds awesome. But
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you came on here. I'm so excited for this to be aired. And I'm kind of nervous. We both were nervous today about this because we do feel like we're little fish in this big pond of hair extensions. So it becomes a little crazy when we're talking about all this stuff. But if you can go follow Shawna. What's your handle again, Shawna?
It's at Shawna Enright Hair. And then my hair extension Instagram is kalon.hairextension. So it's KALON.
Okay, perfect. And if you follow me, awesome. If not, Jennifer_Johnson_Janisch, Adored Salon, and adored_signature_hand-tied_hair is the extension line. You can go on and see all the gorgeous photos between hers and mine and everybody else's work that resides within those feeds. And we hope you have an awesome night. And as always, we so appreciate you listening. If you have a topic for discussion, feel free to send a DM and I will gladly address it. So we will see you soon. Shawna, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a great night and chat soon.
That's good.
Thanks.